They told you that no contact is the answer. They told you to block their number, delete them from your life, cut off every pathway they have to reach you. And yes, no contact is a step, but let's get real. No contact alone is not enough to crush a narcissist's ego. Because here's the truth. A narcissist feeds on power, attention, and the idea that you are still thinking about them. If you disappear quietly, in their mind, they still win. They convince themselves that you're secretly miserable, that you're obsessing over them, that you'll come crawling back one day. And that false sense of superiority is the oxygen they breathe. So, if you want to truly crush their ego, if you want to take back your power in a way that leaves them with nothing to stand on, then you have to do more than no contact. You have to transform the silence into strength, into proof that you no longer need them, into undeniable evidence that you are thriving without them. And if you show them, no contact sets the boundary, but true power comes from rebuilding and transforming your life beyond the narcissist. When you finally cut off all ties, block their access, and silence their attempts to manipulate you, it feels like a breakthrough. You create a line they cannot cross, and that boundary is necessary because without it, they will continue to poison your energy and control your emotions. But while no contact is essential, it is not the finish line. It is the starting point. If you stop there, you risk staying stuck in the shadows of what they did to you, replaying the trauma, holding on to the pain, and letting their ghosts haunt your present. The real victory is when you use that silence as fertile ground to plant the seeds of a new version of yourself, one they cannot reach, touch, or define. That is where transformation begins. A narcissist thrives on control, and even after you leave, they imagine they still own space in your mind. They convince themselves that your silence is proof you are suffering. But what truly destroys that illusion is when your life blossoms beyond recognition, when the person they tried to break rises stronger, wiser, and more radiant than before. That transformation is not for them. But it is the most powerful statement you can make, that their control ended the day you chose yourself. Rebuilding after no contact is about reclaiming the pieces of yourself they tried to strip away. It means rediscovering passions you abandoned, goals you shelved, and dreams you sacrificed for their approval. It means pouring energy into your growth, your health, your relationships, and your purpose. The power in this process lies in showing yourself that you were never dependent on them for happiness or identity. They tried to convince you that you were nothing without them, but each step you take to rebuild proves the opposite. And while no contact stops their voice from entering your world, transformation ensures their shadow no longer lingers in your spirit. Every success you achieve, every joy you allow yourself, every moment of peace you cultivate is a strike against the false narrative they try to imprint on you. When you rise beyond no contact, you stop living in resistance to them and start living in devotion to yourself. That is the ultimate act of liberation. It dismantles the core of their ego because their power only existed when you played their game, and now you've left the game entirely. True freedom comes when you no longer define your healing by their presence or absence, but by the strength, growth, and beauty you create in your own life. No contact is the doorway, but walking through that doorway into transformation is where real power begins. A narcissist's ego is destroyed when you thrive without them, proving they never had the control they believed they did. What terrifies a narcissist more than anything is not your anger, not your tears, and not even your silence, but your happiness and success after they are gone. They build their fragile sense of superiority on the belief that you cannot live without them, that you're broken without their presence, and that your world crumbles if they walk away. This illusion fuels their ego and convinces them that they hold permanent power over you. But the moment you begin to thrive without their influence, you rip away the foundation of their delusion. Every smile you show, every achievement you reach, and every step forward in your healing is undeniable proof that their grip has been shattered. This realization is unbearable for them because it contradicts the story they tell themselves and others, that they are the center of your life. Striving after no contact is not about superficial appearances. It is about genuine growth from within. When you invest in your well-being, cultivate peace, and build a life filled with meaning, you demonstrate to yourself first that you are complete without them. The narcissist cannot twist that reality because your thriving existence stands as living evidence. Their ego thrives on the idea of being needed, being missed, being chased. But when they see or sense that you are not only surviving but excelling without them, it hits a part of their identity that is hollow and fragile. They may never admit it out loud, but internally the knowledge eats at them. To thrive without them is to reclaim everything they tried to destroy: your confidence, your joy, your independence, your sense of purpose. Your confidence is your pillar, letting in the sun, your lair, your independence, your sense of purpose. It is to take back the narrative they tried to control and rewrite it in your favor. This is what dismantles their ego, because it proves that their perceived dominance was nothing more than manipulation and illusion. They cannot handle seeing you glow in spaces where they once dimmed your light. They cannot tolerate that you are creating memories, opportunities, and happiness that have no connection to them. That thriving life is the mirror that reflects their failure. And narcissists hate nothing more than being confronted with their own irrelevance, turning over and over how the tides of time, only to carry you into the ultimate unknown vision of their ever evolved. The greatest power you can ever hold over a narcissist is not revenge, not words, and not proving a point directly to them, but living a life so full, so strong, and so unapologetically joyful that they are forced to confront the truth. They never had the control they thought they did. Your thriving becomes the silent but undeniable declaration of freedom. And it is this freedom that crushes their ego more deeply than any confrontation ever could. Silence alone can be misinterpreted, but silence, combined with growth, success, and happiness, delivers the ultimate blow. When you walk away from a narcissist and choose not to engage, they can twist your silence into whatever narrative feeds their ego. They may convince themselves that you are sulking in pain, that you are waiting for them to come back, or that you are too weak to move forward. In their mind, your absence becomes proof that they still have power over you. That is why silence by itself does not fully dismantle their illusions. What truly devastates them is when your silence is accompanied by undeniable evidence that you are flourishing, that your life is expanding, and that you are unshaken by their absence. The combination of no contact and transformation sends a message they cannot spin. You are not waiting. You are not hurting. You are not trapped in their shadow. You are thriving on your own terms. This is the part that their ego cannot process. Narcissists thrive on being the central figure in your story, whether through love, conflict, or chaos. If you simply stay quiet, they can still imagine themselves as the main character in your silence. But when your silence is filled with growth and new beginnings, you completely remove them from the narrative. That void terrifies them more than anger ever could. Success is a language they cannot twist, happiness is a truth they cannot rewrite, and growth is a reality they cannot deny. Each step you take forward without them shows that you were never as dependent on them as they believed, and each moment of joy reveals that their attempts to break you only built resilience. Silence becomes powerful when it is backed by action. You don't announce your healing, you embody it. You don't broadcast your transformation for their attention, you live it naturally. and the ripple effect of your growth spreads in ways they cannot control. They may hear of your progress through others, see glimpses of your joy, or simply sense that you are no longer tethered to them. That realization eats at their ego because it dismantles the illusion that they left you powerless. Silence without growth can be mistaken for weakness, but silence with growth is undeniable strength. It is the kind of strength that doesn't need validation, the kind that speaks volumes without words. When you choose to thrive quietly, the narcissist loses both the reaction they craved and the illusion that you are suffering in their absence. They are left with nothing but the mirror of their own emptiness. That is why pairing your silence with genuine success and happiness delivers the ultimate blow. It leaves no room for their false stories, no opening for their manipulations, and no fuel for their ego. It is the silent storm that dismantles them without you ever having to lift a finger. Reclaiming your identity, passions, and confidence dismantles the lies they built about your worth. When you are entangled with a narcissist, their goal is to erode your sense of self until you no longer recognize who you are. They chip away at your confidence with subtle criticism. They manipulate your passions by dismissing what matters to you. And they rewrite your reality so you begin to see yourself through their distorted lens. Over time, you start to lose touch with the parts of yourself that once made you vibrant and whole. This is intentional because the weaker you feel, the easier it is for them to maintain control. But once you break free and begin reclaiming those lost pieces, you start to undo the very foundation of their manipulation. Reclaiming identity means remembering the person you were before their influence clouded your perspective. But it also means stepping into the new version of yourself, shaped by growth and resilience. It is about asking, who am I when no one is defining me but me? That process of rediscovery is powerful because it strips away the false narratives they planted and replaces them with authentic truth. Reclaiming passions is equally vital because narcissists often belittle or discourage the things that bring you joy. They cannot stand to see you invested in something outside of them, so they either mock it, sabotage it, or convince you it is worthless. When you return to those passions, or discover new ones, you reignite the spark they tried to extinguish. Whether it is a hobby, a career goal, creativity, or personal dreams, every step you take toward embracing what lights you up is a direct rejection of their control. Confidence is perhaps the most threatening thing you can reclaim in their eyes. A confident person is unshakable, hard to manipulate, and impossible to dominate. Narcissists work tirelessly to instill self-doubt, but when you rebuild your confidence, you prove that their lies never defined your value. Confidence is not about arrogance. It is about standing firmly in your worth and no longer needing external validation, especially from someone who thrived on withholding it. Together, these acts of reclamation dismantle the structure of lies the narcissist built around you. They told you that you were not enough, and now you prove that you are more than enough. They told you that your dreams were meaningless, and now you pursue them with determination. They told you that you could not stand on your own, and now you walk with unshakable strength. Every act of reclaiming is a silent declaration that their version of you was never the truth. The beauty of this process is that it not only destroys their illusion of power, but also liberates you completely. You are no longer defined by their projection. You are defined by your authentic self, your passions, and your confidence, which shine brighter than ever once you take them back. Refusing to react, explain, or seek closure denies them the validation they crave and weakens their hold. A narcissist thrives on reaction because it feeds their ego and reinforces their belief that they still have power over you. Whether you scream, argue, or even try to reason with them, they interpret any engagement as proof that they matter. Even your pain is a form of supply to them because it shows they left an emotional impact. That is why the most powerful stance you can take is one of complete non-engagement. When they provoke you and you do not respond, it sends a message louder than words. You are no longer available to be controlled. Explanations are another trap because narcissists never want genuine understanding. They want opportunities to twist your words, manipulate your intentions, and regain control of the narrative. The more you try to justify yourself, the deeper you fall into their game. They thrive on keeping you defensive, making you explain your choices, and keeping you locked in cycles of confusion. By refusing to explain, you take back the power of your voice and stop allowing them to dictate the conversation. Seeking closure is perhaps the most dangerous illusion of all because with narcissists, closure is a mirage. They are incapable of giving genuine accountability or empathy, so searching for it only keeps you tied to them. They will dangle false apologies, half-truths, or even blame-shifting tactics just to pull you back in. Every time you reach for closure, you hand them another opportunity to reopen the wound. True closure comes from within, not from them. By letting go of the need for their validation, their explanation, or their apology, you cut the last thread they were holding on to. This refusal dismantles the core of their control because it takes away the fuel that keeps their ego alive. They are left screaming into a void, desperate for a reaction that never comes. To them, your silence, your refusal to play, and your ability to move on without answers is unbearable. It shows them that they no longer hold the power to define your emotions, that they no longer sit at the center of your life. What devastates them most is not anger, but indifference. Indifference tells them they have lost their grip entirely. By not reacting, not explaining, and not seeking closure, you deny them the oxygen their ego needs to survive. You show that you are no longer a character in their drama. And that realization is crushing to them because it forces them to confront their emptiness without the distraction of your energy. What was once a game they controlled is now over, not with a dramatic ending, but with your quiet refusal to play at all. Crushing their ego is not the goal. Your healing, growth, and freedom are the true victory, with their collapse being a natural consequence. It is easy to become consumed with the idea of revenge when you first escape the grip of a narcissist. The pain, betrayal, and manipulation can make you want to see them suffer, to watch them fall, to prove that they can never hurt you again. But focusing on their destruction keeps you tethered to them in a way that continues to give them power. The real triumph lies not in plotting their downfall, but in rising so far beyond their reach that their opinion, their existence, and their ego no longer matter. Healing becomes the greatest weapon because it is something they never wanted for you. They wanted you broken, dependent, and questioning your worth. Each act of self-care, each step of emotional recovery, each boundary you hold firm is a silent act of rebellion against everything they tried to impose on you. Growth is the undeniable evidence that their efforts to keep you small failed. It is in the new opportunities you pursue, the relationships you nurture, and the passions you reclaim. Every piece of progress is a testament to your strength and resilience. Freedom is the crown of it all because freedom means you are no longer emotionally entangled in their web. You are no longer replaying the arguments in your head, no longer craving validation, and no longer defining your story by the pain they caused. That freedom is priceless, and it is what ultimately strips them of the control they thought was permanent. When you reach this place, their ego collapses naturally, not because you fought them directly, but because their power simply dissolves in the presence of your independence. The irony is that by not making their destruction your focus, you end up achieving it more effectively. A narcissist's ego cannot survive in an environment where they are irrelevant, and your healing makes them irrelevant. It is not about proving them wrong, it is about proving yourself right. That you deserve peace, joy, and a life free from manipulation. When you build that life, their collapse becomes inevitable, even if you never see it. What matters is not whether they admit defeat, but that you no longer care whether they do. That indifference is the purest form of victory. It is the shift from being a survivor to becoming the author of your own story. A story where they are no longer a central figure, but a closed chapter. By choosing healing, growth, and freedom, you rise into a version of yourself that no narcissist can touch. And in that rising, their ego crumbles on its own.